Okay, so now that we have done that, we have pushed everything into for our platform. We can go ahead and create just another one to see the process. We can check, sorry, we can create this one, right? Just to have that one there too. Okay, so we want to go here and we're gonna create, uh, let's do 0, and this one is gonna be called floating platform. We're gonna put it in the environment here, and we are gonna drag from our tiles the floating pieces, which basically are just these three. So that one will be easy. So this is one, this is two, and this is three, right? So tile center, this one was, oh sorry, this one was center or middle. This one is actually left, and this one is right. Okay, and we need to change our sorting layer so we are able to see them to tiles. We will move. Oh, nice. We have someone there in our chat. Thank you for the comment. And we will move this a little bit just to match it here. There you go. And we have the same here and put it into the other one. But negative. Awesome. Okay, so we have that there. We have our platform. We just created that way. We can go ahead and yeah, everything looks right? Okay. We can put it in our prefabs because we have our floating platform there. And we are going to move that just a little bit because our player won't be able to jump that high. There you go. We probably want it somewhere around here so it's easier. Yeah, cool. Okay, so we have our platforms. Awesome. Now we can move. Well, there's something wrong with this platform, and you can notice our player will fall, but I'm just gonna leave it right there so we can later show like the importance of having our colliders like those ones. But that's fine. Okay, now let's go ahead and start creating our player. So we will go into our, sorry, into the content, course content, and then we will go to our free night and we will go to our PNG and we have here all of our player. Basically, this is what I was telling you. Like this could have been in the same page, just one file, and then I would have been able to cut it using the sprite editor that Unity has. But for the sake of this one, is already cut and I have all my sprites. And you can see is basically that's how our animation will work. Is basically changing one sprite after another to have like that nice effect of the paper when you draw it in like the corner of a paper. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go into our sprites, create another folder. We will call our player. And under our player folder, we are gonna just drag and drop all of those guys. That's gonna take a little bit longer because it's way more images that we are importing into Unity. And with the player, we are gonna just move a little bit faster. I already explained some of the things we have, but basically we have to change the units, the pixels per unit, because if I just move this guy here, just a quick thing, we're gonna add another sorting layer. We're gonna call it player. we are going to add our player there. Our player looks gigantic, right? So what we want to do is change this to 200 and apply, and that looks about right. So we are gonna go ahead and do the same for all of these guys and hit apply. That's gonna also take a little bit of time because it has to change all of those, which is a pretty big task and needs to be done by Unity. Okay, now that we have that, we have covered how to import our assets, how to make our environment. You guys now are able to go ahead and create like all kinds of levels. You can be crazy and start creating different platforms and jumping up and down and maybe a cavern and then there's a fall and you have to move. That's great. Like it's for you to do whatever you want. There's way more tiles here that you can use with different shapes, so it's pretty nice, and you can add a lot of different objects just to make it look nicer. Um, if you guys do that, please send me the link of your GitHub repo, and I will be glad to check it out or like post some of some screenshots of what you have done. I will really love to see what you have created. Just a little tip, don't make it too big, too huge, because depending on the platform you are gonna be running this, you will probably have to have different sizes of levels. Like if you are running this on a mobile device and you want it to be run like in a small, like not very powerful devices, you will need like short levels, or otherwise like all the content will make it too slow and like it will crash, it will run out of memory. So just be careful with that. Okay, we're gonna remove this. That's why I'm telling you, like the back, like our environment will be just collapsed. That's great. And now we can start creating our player. For our player, we are gonna create another empty game object, position it on 0, 0, 0, and we're gonna call it our player. Inside of it, right, we are going to have, I believe we can just create it from here. Let me just check. Yeah, right away we are gonna say the player. We can call it player controller, just, or player controller. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna add a sprite renderer, and we can add here as our main sprite the idle number 1. We have to change this to the player, and we have our player there. So this is our player coming into life right away. I'm gonna start talking about animations, so we can set our player with animations. So we're gonna go into our folder of animations. Or before that, let's push all those changes because we added just quite a bit of changes. So in our sprites, we know we did all of this. We're gonna add all of those. It's gonna take a little bit of time. Add player sprites with correct pixel per unit. Commit. And we also wanna add our floating platform. Add floating platform prefab and update our scene. Update sample scene. All right, now that we have that, we can push and we will go back here. In our animations, how I'm gonna start talking about how those animations work. So Unity has 2 new windows that we didn't cover last time, but they were present here. Maybe some of you saw them and you were wondering like, okay, what's all of, like what those tabs do. Those tabs will control all of the play or like the animations of an object. Unity has these that Some will differ and say that's not very powerful, I don't like it, but I really love it. Like what I can do with these animations here, it's amazing. How animations works is there's an animator controller plus some animation clips, basically these ones. So the clips is basically where we host all of our like the animation itself. If it was, for example, a 3D model, here we will have like the movement of the joints of our bones and things of our game object, and that's our animation. In this case, because we are doing sprite animations, like sprites animation is basically changing, the animation will be just replacing basically the sprite here with the next sprite that we require. So you see here idle 1, then it's idle 2, idle 3, idle 4. That's basically what the animation will do. Like in after some seconds it will start like changing it so it looks nice, the animation of the player, right? So let's go ahead and create our first animation. So I'm gonna create here a folder called player, right? And I'm gonna create, this is one way of creating it, animation, and it's gonna be called idle. You see here I have my idle animation. The only thing that I have to do, like I could go like frame by frame and add them, but with the sprites it's pretty easy. I can just go and find my idle sprites, and I see there's 10 of them, drag and drop them. Oops, sorry. There is one that it's not. Sorry, I grabbed something that it was not right. Okay, why? Let me check if I just made a mistake. Probably. Oh, I know why it is. Okay, that was a little bit. That was the wrong way of doing it for the sprites. For the sprites, it requires to know where is the renderer to be able to put it that way. So what we will do is I'm gonna cover first the controllers. So let's go and create our controllers folder. Basically, the controller is just gonna tell us what to do and when to do it, like when to change an animation and like the behavior of the animations. So we're gonna call player controller. That will create it there. And in our player, we need an animator, and we are gonna drag and drop our controller. Now that we have it here, like it knows that our player has an animation, has an animator, and like this object has a sprite renderer. So we can create a new clip in our animations player, and we can call it idle. There you go. Now, if I'm not wrong, sorry about that, I can come here and drag and drop. There you go. That's beautiful. Now I have my sprites as the idle animation. You see they are like too close one to each other. So if I just hit play, I will see like my player is so exhausted. Like the idle looks like if he just finished like the marathon. So one way of doing it will be to just grab each one of these keyframes basically and move them uh, farther apart from each other. But that will be a little bit of a task, right? So that's why we have this here. That's also a good, and we can just change and say 10, for example. That's a nice number. And now if I hit play, that looks like an idle. Like our guy is just there, like kind of breathing, breathing. So that's awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and create some other animations. We can go create a clip, and we will call this jump. Let's go and look for our jump animations. There you go. 10 sprites, right? And this one we also require to be 10. And there you go. That's our nice jump. As you can see, like he's jumping, like he's doing the animation of jumping, but he's not like moving. There's two type of animations in Unity. Ones that are like in place, like this one, like he is jumping in place, and other ones that actually move the animation, like the frames, the position of the character is moved up, or if he's walking is moved. But if we do that, we need to tell Unity like, okay, the animation itself is the one that will handle the movement of the object. Or in this case, we are just using this as an animation, but the real movement of the character will be handled by a script. Okay, now we can create another one, which is pretty important, which is called walk. And let's go ahead and search our walk animation. We have run and we have walk. Okay. All right, and for our walk, yes. Okay, so our walk, it works with the 10 frames as well. There you go. Our little guy is walking. That's awesome. Now, if we go here into our animator, we see these little boxes were created. So the animator, as we said before, is what it handles, like what happens with those animations. So right now, when my animator starts, my idle animation will be played. So if I hit save and I hit play, our player will go directly to the idle mode and it will be just in idle. There you go. Our player is in idle. Yeah, if I go here, here is the idle. One important thing to notice is my idle animation is set to loop because like the idle is looping, and that's great. Unity does that for us as a default. Some of the animations doesn't need to be looping because like they are not meant to be looping. Okay, that's great. We have that. We need to create another last animation just in case. You can see here I don't I'm not able to click it. That's because I'm not selecting the player. I can create another one and it's gonna be called attack. And for the attack, I'm going to select my attack animation. There you go. And hit, oh yeah, the guy is on fire. Okay, for our attack, if we do the same 10, it's probably gonna be too slow, right? We can increase it a little bit. There you go. It looks like, yeah, more rage. Okay, we have all of our animations here, but right now we are not gonna move them around because we need some scripts to know like what are we going to do with those animations, or like how we are gonna react, right? All right, we have our player there. Let's go ahead and save. We most likely will like to have also our player as a prefab because it's like it's the main player. He most likely will be used in different scenes unless we do like a trick when we move between scenes and our player remains the same, but that's not going to be the case here. Okay, save. We go back here and we can um, add our changes. So we will need first the animations. So let's go ahead and yeah, we know we did all of this, right? All of that was added. So create this with this guy and we will say add animation animator controller and idle and animations for player. In the description, I can say add idle, walk, jump, and attack animations. Right? That's it. And we can add our player prefab. Let's do first our tag manager. Add player sorting layer. Add that, and now we can do add player prefab with sprites and animations. Add player prefab. Basically, that's what we did. And we can hit that and we can push. Cool. This is just so we always keep our changes saved and also in our remote repository in case something happened with my computer or I go into a friend's house and I wanna like keep working on my project, I can just pull my project and I will have everything. Okay, so now that we have our player, we have covered pretty much what we require from the sprites. Now we're gonna dive into what is more exciting about like development. Well, no, it's just a little bit biased because I'm a programmer and I really like and enjoy making code. But I also love doing this. Like, don't get me wrong, I love setting up the scenes. I love the game design side of the job, and as well the animations. I'm crazy for animations. If I when I have more time, I will try to also do more animations, like in Maya or things like that. I will love to do that. Okay, let's go back. I don't want to derail too much. We will start doing our first scripts. But before that, our player needs a nice collider, right? Because if our player doesn't have a collider, then it won't be able to collide with things. If we see our player here, there you go. That's much better. We have our player. Like we could go and create a custom shape that matches pretty much how our player it is, but we have two troubles here. First is it's just a sprite that is changing. Like it doesn't like Unity doesn't really have access to how is like the sword moving or anything because it's just a sprite. It's just an image. If we had this as a separate game object, which is another way to make 2D games, it's like you have the arm separated from the other arm and the chest, and then you assemble them here, and then you create animations in Unity. You can do that. Then you are able to track the movement, like the separate movement of the arm. But because it's sprites, we can't. So the closest shape that we can see is just a box collider, right? That's pretty big. We can just go ahead and resize that here. Yeah, it doesn't look nice because I have that white background, so it's hard to tell, but that's good. And here, and for the top part, we don't want to drag the little piece. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so one little trick. Right now, I added a change to my prefab, but it's not gonna affect my player here. So if I instantiate that player won't have that collider. And you can notice that there's a blue line here. It means that it was added to my prefab, but it's not committed, like it's not applied to the changes on my prefab. If I want to apply it, I have to go into override and I see, oh, there was a box collider that was added. Yeah, I did that and I want that to be part of the prefab. Apply. And now I got rid of that blue line and my player has the collider now.